Well, welcome to another episode. As you can tell, the shop is a disaster, to say the least. I've been going through all my old part tubs and looking around for all the little interior pieces that I'm missing. We ended up having I found a cigarette lighter, so that's a plus. Found my dome light works, that's pretty cool. And my wife was clutch today, and we got together and made the shifter boot and a boot for our handbrake. I'll show you guys that here in a second. But as promised, today we're going to start doing an upgrade. Ignore all this. I promise it's going to be cleaned up for the next video. But today we're talking about that upgrade that I mentioned last video with our interior. Is we're actually upgrading back to the engine. You can see the hood is probably up. And we are going to be upgrading our radiator. Now, we just put in that brand new stock style radiator. There's nothing wrong with it. You can absolutely run it just fine the way it is. But, I mean, why not go better? So we're installing the all-new aluminum radiator from Vick Autosports, the Texas heat radiator. I've already got it installed. I've already bled the system. I'm going to save you guys the torture of having to watch me install a radiator all over again. If you guys did not watch it the first time, I'll make sure to put a link up here in the top for you guys to where we installed our radiator when we worked on our entire cooling system. But when we got that radiator, we also upgraded our water pump, so brand new water pump and a new thermostat. So we didn't mess around at all. We want to make sure we had all new fresh parts. So I'm going to show you with the radiator installed, a little bit more of the interior parts that we got put together from last video. And there's an even cooler part on top of it that I can't wait to show you. First things first, we're going to come into the interior. There's the shift boot. I just need to get the knob on there, but it's just a black, probably vinyl material. Super flexible, really nice. And we just had a little touch of red on top to tie it in with the rest of the car. And the handbrake boot is also the same material, super flexible. I do not have that bolted down. I do have that secured down to the metal plate. But it's so kind of loose on there that it just kind of falls naturally, and it's not something that we're going to be pulling on up, down, up, down, up, down, just as much as a shifter. So keeping this just kind of rested on there, it just kind of pulls together at the bottom, hides all those mechanisms, hides that seam in the carpet, and it works out really well. The sewing machine's a little fancy, and we got a little design on there, and same thing with the red on top. I like how the red ties it together. We're currently working on a block off plate for that, just a little piece of metal, paint it black and stick it in there and call it a day. But yeah, this interior is almost all buttoned up. I did find a few other pieces in my stash. These kick panels are the ones that go in the corners down there. I may put these in. I am missing some of the screws, so I don't know if I'll just get some small screws, cut off the heads so I don't have all this sticking through, and just glue those in there to make them look good and just kind of glue it in place. That's an option. And a lot of times these fall off. You can see where the little nubs have just kind of been ground off from previous owners or just kept falling out of place. So we just may take a batch of cheapy screws to plug those holes and clean this thing up. If we should put these in, if you guys want to see these put in, put a link or a comment down below and we'll get these installed. I don't know, I'm on the fence. You guys decide, just put it down there and I'll make my decision from there. But we also found a triangle window latch, which is a plus. So for on here, we can put the latch on, of course, on the inside. You can see where an old one used to be. So I think this might be the other side, but I'll have to look at pictures. And I think I have one more. I'm just gonna have to go through all my parts bins here. I've got all sorts of stuff. The wipers, we've got those. A bunch of other random pieces here and there. I'm not putting the armrest back on. I'm not a big fan because I'm so big that I need all the space here that I can get. And if I've got an armrest here with my knees, and this is not a big enough gap for my big old knee to be in. So we're just gonna leave the armrest off because I'm gonna rest my arm outside the window anyway. I'm tall enough I can reach it. So that's what's going on with the interior. Upgrades, got the badge on. The glove box door is fully secured. Everything is nice and taken care of. These are actually ones I had left over from my last 124 project. They're plastic, but I got them recovered in that same vinyl material that the boots are made out of, and the previous owner had cut a massive hole for a speaker in them. But with the new material on there, you can't tell, but there's a soft spot, and that's where the speaker was. but it hides it. So I just recovered it, glued it on there just like we did our dash, and that seemed to do really well for us. Little creases, but I mean, hey, it's better than a big old hole. So that's where we're up to date on the interior. Kick panels are in, those kick panels up in the front there, all installed, center console, all that good stuff. Now the real treasure is here, the aluminum radiator. So this is like the biggest radiator you're going to get in here, and it's super nice, super lightweight, which is a plus. Aluminum, it dissipates the heat faster, even better, and our big fan fits on it just perfect, absolutely perfect, and it's a really tight fit. So if you get down in here, you see there's a gap between the crank at the bottom, the belt, and where the water pump is. It is a tight fit, but it does fit. I did a crank the engine over, got it running after we bled the entire system, and it is amazing. When you come around to the front, got that nice aluminum grill in there. Now there is a little different part to it, is because it is so much bigger, you need to have a spacer for our sway bar. So these are included with the kit when you buy it, but it's a long piece of metal with a groove cut out for it to slide over. So you just loosen these a little bit, you let it come down, you slide the spacer, and you tighten it back up, and that makes enough space for the radiator to fit just fine. You do have to be a little aggressive in some areas, but it does fit. You can see down there it fits just fine, nice and straight, let all that air come through. But this is an awesome addition to the car, especially with long trips we may want to go on this. You don't want to mess around with overheating, so it's super nice to get this radiator installed. But there's an even better part that goes on top of this, and I'm gonna grab it, I'm gonna show you, and that's what we're gonna install today. It's an awesome custom addition to this. So when I called Vick Autosports and talked to Matt, and I said, hey, I want to upgrade my radiator to the aluminum one, I want to go big, I want to make it worth my while, he said, let's go a little bit farther, if that's even possible. So we went a little farther. He said, I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy, and we got something custom to put on top of it. And this is what we're going to be working on today, and I'm very excited to show you. Are you ready? I don't think you are. Alright, fine, you are. Ready? It's a custom top that goes on top of the radiator. Now it lifts above, it's got the Texas heat radiator, that's what this is. Garage Time TV initials with the Vick Autosports Performance engraved on the top. I'm going to show you how this goes on there real quick. So this custom piece is awesome, aluminum, fits perfect on top. So we have a couple options. Either we can put it on top like this or like this, but I'm thinking more like this. I like that a lot better. You know, you come up to the car and it's boom right there as you read it. One thing we're gonna have to figure out to work around is our overflow hose. So maybe we'll have to figure out a way to work it down in front, or we might have to cut a little groove at the end for it to come out. I'm not quite sure. That's gonna be part of the struggle. But if we take this off, a little bit in it from when we did our test, and put this on there, if I can get it, and it's an absolute perfect fit. It looks so good on top of there. It just kind of finishes it off, and we're going to be super extra, and we've got an improvement to make this even better. So we went to our Advanced Auto Parts right outside our neighborhood, and they had these on clearance. They're like an LED strip light, and they come with all the stuff in it and everything like that. It was only a couple bucks. It was in their clearance bin, and it worked out great. They had all sorts of different colors. They had blue, a lot of blue, and a couple white. And this one is white. I did not want to go blue because it's definitely different than our car. They didn't have red. I really wish they had red. So maybe if we go back and find it later, we can use a red one. But what we're gonna do is get this plugged in underneath this, whether we strip it on top and stick it on top here to let it glow down, or we do it on the side and let it shine through that way. I'm not quite sure yet, but we'll run a wire probably down this way, with the rest of the body wires and down into the cab. And we do have an extra switch that's not being used. It's a factory switch there on that side. So this one is actually for our heater and our fan. That one there, high and low. And that one's also a high and low, but I think it was for electric windows when this car had it. But that one's actually just blank. There's nothing to it. So we could probably use that for this to power it and keep the factory look on the inside when we go to put this underneath there. So let me get you guys set up and we'll start figuring out a way to run our line and getting this secured. First things first, let's jump on this. Now I don't really want to, I could run it underneath. It'd be a good way to hide it. If we did that, kind of cut out into this side here. Kept it forward. And then out the side. Let's see if this cover, yeah, it's not going to do very well because that's going to block us from getting in there. I don't really want to take this fitting out, this bar fitting, because what's in there, and it may be, you know, got some JB weld or something in there. I don't know what's holding it in there. It could just be screwed in. And we could put a 90, but it would have to be a small 90 to go down this way. Who knows where it would end up? Maybe it's straight up and it would look really goofy too. So I think our next best option is going to be something like that out the front. We've got a little tab here on our fan that we might be able to use a zip tie through to hold it there and see how that would look. So it'd have to be, yeah, I don't know, maybe we run it through the front. Maybe that'll help us. I think that's better. It keeps it away. You can have a better chance of reading it. We could also put a 90 fitting in after, but you'd have to run another 90 fitting. And that's just, the more fittings you have, the more chances for leaks, and it's a pressurized system, overflow for the radiator, and I don't want to risk that at all. So I think I'm going to have to, so that works out all right. Just need to figure out a way to secure it down in here. It's like, it's almost able to fit under the lip from the hood. Here, I'll show you guys. So when I bend it this way, I can almost fit it in this gap here, and that would hold it, you know, something like that. The only thing is I can't really fit the rubber in there. It's just so snug. I have to loosen the bolts on the radiator and scoot it forward. So let me see if we can do that. I'm just worried about it getting pinched off down here, but we won't know until we try. So let's grab our 10mm. We'll back off these bolts a little bit so we have some room to work, and see if we can feed it down there. The radiator came forward just a little bit. I didn't want to unscrew it all the way, but it did get behind there. We were able to bring it up and fit it up here. My only thing is now you've got this ugly hose hanging down in front of our pretty radiator. So we'll have to pull out the slack, try and hide that. I still think that's pretty good. You get the point, you get what it says. If, you know, yeah, I'd rather just keep this up. And I know we'll clear just fine, because our radiator cap is still the highest point. Yeah, we'll clear just fine on that. So I think this is our good option. I mean, we could always go through where the factory or aftermarket, however you want to call it, air conditioning system has those two holes for the condenser that's in front of the radiator. We could go through those, but this is loose, it's not tight, it's not pinched or anything like that. So I think we'll be okay with that. We'll tighten these up. There's still plenty of slack in here. So we'll tighten that up, tighten up the other side, and we'll see what it takes to start wiring up that plate. So this is what it is before I cut it all open and make y'all upset. This is what it is, Flex Link LED. It looks like you can add multiple, you can even trim it to fit. But I think we're going to keep it all as one. And again, this is white, tells you the color on the top. They didn't have any red. I really wish they did. But if I wanted red, it was like double, triple the price, and I'm okay with white. White will show up better anyway, I guess. So we are gonna see what it takes to get this thing working if I don't chop up the instructions while doing it. Why do they make packaging so difficult? Come on. Well, would you just open? All right, we're getting serious. I'm gonna cut it all the way down. There. Is that so hard? All right, there's your connector, the light, and instructions. All right. Oh, it's got 3M on the back. That's pretty good. That means it'll stick at least. Real test is how well it'll stick up to the heat in the radiator, but you know, it's on sale, so we'll live with it. Put that in the trash, and there's our final strip. So the instructions say if you want to modify the strip, no. 12-volt use, that's a good start. Temperature at installation should be between 65 and 90. Well, we're in Texas and it's 1,000,000 degrees, so we're gonna have to live with that. Test fit into intended location. Clean surface thoroughly with soap and water. Okay, so for the adhesive, clear protective surface of LED strips are temperature sensitive, and in cold weather, LED strip or installation surface should be warmed with a hair dryer. I guess it's if you're installing it, so it's warm enough here. Before connecting the power, ensure all strips are connected. Connect stripped wire to positive fuse power and connect black wire to negative. All right, so it's pretty straightforward, it seems. Open up our little connector here. Really tiny wires. So we've got one red, one black. Pretty straightforward. And this one plugs into it on the male end like that. And I guess if you have multiple, you can daisy chain them together on the female ends. So what we're gonna do is we'll get in here, take off that piece, and see how it fits. So we'll remove this again, get that out of our way, and maybe we have to put it all the way at the back. Let's see how that works out for us. This is really hard one-handed. Don't move on me now. Okay. So if we have it all the way in the end, you can see a little bit of it there, but it does hide it. So if we have it down, it would shoot the light up, but I think it'd be bright enough to light all this up. It might be better to do it on the top side, farther away from the opportunity of moisture, I guess, from driving. And then we can run the wire out the end here to hide it underneath the hose, come down and join with the harness here, keep it real clean, simple, and try and hide that. So let's clean that surface up and get that light attached. We put some cleaner on here. We were able to clean that whole surface, and we make sure that the most of our stuff is going to be close to the light. I think we need to go a little more this way, more centered. I think that'll work for us. Peel off our sticker on the back. It is dry, I wiped it down, made sure it's all good to go. Last thing you want is to have the adhesive on this be no good. It did come with a little end cap to cover the non-used side on here. It's a little cap on there so moisture and water doesn't get in. And we want to make sure we have it this way, right up against there. As close as we can get. Trying to keep it nice and tight. Don't want any bubbles. Oh, looks like a little O-ring came off the end. There you go. All right, have it kicked out just a little bit. That way we can put our connector on there. And that is fit just fine. So now the fun part, soldering and wiring and running wires, and it's just my absolute most favorite part. So luckily it's small enough to just barely get out here for a connector, and then down, I think what I'll do is a quick connect, like a quick disconnect, male and female on this end. That way, if we ever have to pull the radiator, we'll be able to just keep this attached, and then it'll run separate here into an auxiliary light source. We may even be able to get lucky with maybe some old lighting wires, but I think I'd rather just run new stuff and try and tie into old stuff and seeing if it works. But why don't we grab a 12-volt source? We'll just put a positive and negative on here and see how bright it is. We'll put our cap on there before we do all that work. We've got our jumper pack plugged into some jumper wires, positive to positive, negative to negative. Let's turn the switch here and see how bright these things are. Oh, sucker's bright. Oh, I'm seeing spots. All right, let's see if we can get this on there to see what it looks like with the lights on. All right, all the way over, and let's give it some power. Not quite the coverage I was expecting. You can see right up the middle just fine, but it's just not quite long enough. Maybe it does need to be on this side spilling out to try and get the ends a little bit better. So let's see if we can re-stick it, if there's enough stickiness left, and put it on the back side. That's much better. With the light spilling out this way, I'm a little bit off here, but our hose will be here. But you can see everything, and that looks way, way better. So let's get this off. Let's start running some wiring. It's not the most exciting thing to watch. I'm gonna do it real quick and save you guys all the headache of watching me do it. So we're gonna get these disconnected, make sure it's really stuck on there, and then we can start running the wires into the car onto our switch on the inside. All right, wiring is done. We cheated a little bit. We didn't go all the way into the cab through the firewall onto that switch. It's just so far and a lot of wire just to get up here. And there's actually this bracket here that had just a stud on it. So I was able to get a switch installed. We got the wires going down. I'm gonna clean this all up, but it's gonna go down, up behind the back side, and it should light this up. So here we go. Oh yeah. We ended up moving the light on this side just because it was picking up the bottom side. I'd rather pick up the top side. And it is a little loose on there, so we may get some double-sided tape for in case we ever have to get under here. I don't want to glue it, just so we can secure it, because I don't want to go down the road and hear the rattle. So we'll put some double-sided tape probably on the back side here and press it down, and that just looks so much better. And then we can just go to our switch, and it's off. And its best thing is it's LED, so it's not going to draw a huge amount of power, so it shouldn't drain our battery. So if we go to shows or when we go to Freak Out this year, make sure you guys are going, because I will be there. We'll be able to turn this on and people will be able to see that. And I don't know about in the bright sunlight directly on it, it's going to be kind of tough to see, but in the garage at least we can see it. So I'm going to start turning off lights, closing the garage door as well, and we'll see what it looks like with all the lights off. All the lights are off. The only light coming through is what's coming through the light panels in the door. So let's give it a shot in the dark. Oh yeah, that is so awesome. I mean, I don't know how often I'm going to bring this thing out at night, but it'd be really cool. That's so awesome. I mean, why not? How cool is that? Alright guys, and with that, that's going to be the end of this episode. It was a nice, quick, short one, but it's an awesome upgrade away from an original OEM stock style radiator. There's nothing wrong with that, but we wanted to go bigger and better because why not? And an awesome custom piece on top is too good. Yeah, you may not like it, it may not be for you, but it's definitely for me, and I'm a huge fan, and it looks really, really cool. And I cannot wait to show it off this year at Fiat Freak Out. Make sure you guys are going to be there. It's in the Woodlands, Texas, just north of Houston. At the end of September, make sure you register, make sure you're a member of the Fiat Club of America. That way you guys can join that and come and hang out with us. and see this car in person. Now we are coming to the end of this project, which is kind of weird to say. It's had a lot of work done and some stuff twice, 3 times or more, the same thing, but it's really coming together and starting to really look like a car again. It's amazing to think that this was back behind a guy's house, half in the woods, half not, and you know, rusting out. So it's awesome to we're getting this car back on the road and we're that much closer to being done. With that being said, there is another project lined up. I actually already have it, but I'm not going to say anything yet. You guys have to subscribe and hit that notification bell to know what that project is and when we make that announcement. I am physically looking at it right now. I know it's killing you, but I'm not going to have any spoilers until we announce it. So make sure you guys are subscribed. I really do appreciate it. One other thing though is we do still have lots of drink sleeves still available. These are only $5. And we still have some shirts left in stock. We're coming to the end of these. They're only $15 plus shipping. We have medium all the way up to 2XL in these, and these are just regular unisex t-shirts. So size accordingly. Again, 15 bucks. If you guys do want one, just make sure you send me an email, garagetimetv@gmail.com, and we'll get you an order placed and get it shipped out to you as soon as possible. That way you guys can start rocking it and wearing it around town. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really does support the channel and helps me out a lot so we can continue to grow and work on cars just like these. Again, thank you so much, and until next time, we'll see you.